Today, we become legends.
So I was perusing the Smite wiki, as you do, and I came across a series of unimplemented consumables, relics, and tier 3 items that never made it into the final release of a patch. Today we're going to look at 8 of these unimplemented items and my thoughts on how strong or weak they would have been and why they were never implemented. So first up, we have 4 insanely OP looking potions from back in early Smite, that I can only assume are alternate designs for rituals. Whether these were unimplemented because rituals replaced them or whether they were intended to be the ritual replacement remains unknown. It also helps that there were 4 rituals and there are 4 of these OP potions. All 4 of these potions require level 20 to be purchased, which again is a parallel to rituals that required level 10 to be purchased, but let's get into the actual effects of these potions because they seem infinitely broken. So Dragon Spirit is the first one, and this one makes you straight up immune to physical damage for 5 seconds. There is also a magical equivalent in Petal of the Heavens that makes you immune to magical damage for 5 seconds. So needless to say, this kind of effect is scary as all hell to add to the game, as it could very easily break it wide open. Especially the physical damage one, since most structures, objectives, and even the Titan deal physical damage, as well as usually 3 enemies deal physical damage and 2 deal magical. However, the magical immunity does have its upsides. Given most magical damage comes at you in the form of a burst mage, you can make very good use of the immunity to dodge 1 or 2 huge hits from a mage. Imagine Poseidon tries to Kraken you and doesn't realise he had Petal of the Heavens and you just deny him. By the way, all of these ritual potions will be consumed on use or death, so they're kind of like power potions in the current game where you risk losing the invested gold if you die instantly after buying it. Though of course this is consumed directly from your inventory and wasted on death, so there's no way to avoid it, whereas a power potion you actually have to use it to waste it on death. But moving on to the final 2 ritual potions, first up, Serpent's Flask. This one makes you straight up deal double damage on all attacks and abilities for 5 seconds. Like, what even are these? They're stronger than the original rituals for the most part, and those broke the game heavily. Even with the level 20 limit, I feel like so much broken stuff could happen with 5 seconds of literally double damage. Think Anubis soloing objectives with his ult and a Serpent Flask, split pushers doing double damage to towers, phoenixes, and titans. Hell, even the most mundane application of this item is to make your Kraken deal 2000 instead of 1000 and literally one-shot a squishy. That is unless they had Petal of the Heavens, I guess, but I don't know if I like the idea of one insanely broken item being countered only by another insanely broken item, but I can kind of see where they were going with them, at least. But finally, for these ritual potions, we have Temporal Essence, and somehow, I don't know how, this might be the most OP one. It just straight up resets all cooldowns. Yes, all. Not basic ability cooldowns, all cooldowns. You can double ult with this, which on its own opens up the biggest can of worms you've ever seen in Smite. Awilix can ult someone, knock them back up with her 3, use Temporal Essence, ult them again, then knock them up again. Like, that is utterly broken and inescapable without beads, and I just came up with that off the top of my head. I'm sure there are more disgusting setups with chain knockups that physically can't be escaped or some stupid shit like double E-settle on the objective. Like, who is out securing that? I guess they can at least run into the ult and pop Petal of Heavens to not die to them and try and steal, but really, who can out secure 2240 plus 380% scaling in damage? I guess other people with Temporal Essence or Dragon Spirit, which is what I feel like the game would devolve into at level 20 if these were actually added. Just some broken dude with a ritual potion only able to be countered by another broken dude with a ritual potion. While writing this, I just had another broken idea. Callie with this potion, even if she doesn't get the kill with her ult, she can just ult again and keep running it down for that full heal. A similar thing for Set would also be OP as hell. If anything, this cooldown reset potion is by far the most broken of all of them, since it can kinda work the same as the double damage potion since you get double abilities. Most likely ADCs and other auto attackers would buy double damage potion for their sustained damage output, and any ability based gods would buy this one. Double Fenrir ult is certain death for basically anyone, since even if they beads the first one, he just pops Temporal Essence and ults you again. As mentioned before, the idea here seems to be that these potions are on their own separate power level, and the only effective way to counter them is to have one yourself, which is a very risky approach to take, as we saw with the initial design of rituals. By the way, I'm not saying these are coming to the game soon or ever. We don't know much about them, not even a cost or purchase limit, though I assume there will be one. I highly doubt they would let everyone have one of each of these potions. That would just be a complete clown fiesta. I think they have a chance of being added later down the line, but these are just references found in the game files. They're not official information from Hi-Rez, nor did they ever even make it into the PTS, never mind the live client. So you're safe. For now. Moving on to some actual items though, Wrath of Heaven was an interesting item, not because of its effect, but because of why it has its effect. So this comes with 90 magical power, 15% attack speed, and 15% CDR. However, the passive made your basic attacks deal 50% of your magical power and damage additionally to the normal damage. but only when all abilities are on cooldown. Given magical basics only scale with 20% of power, this is a huge increase. The reason for this passive even existing though is because of Smite's ult mechanics. You see, back in closed beta Smite, every god did physical damage with basic attacks and scaled them from physical power, regardless of your primary damage type for your god. Also, any god could build any item, so this item was made specifically for magical ADCs like Freya and Kronos to be able to use that high magical power rather than needing to build physical items for their auto attacks but magical items for their abilities. They can just build magical power and Wrath of Heaven and be good to go. Moving on to some unimplemented relic items, here are two that were planned for the Season 4 update but were never added, not even for PTS. Firstly, we have Greek Fire. This was essentially Hand of the Gods but for minions, executing up to 3 minions and allowing for faster wave clear in lane. However, this wouldn't work in the jungle. And we also have the Otherworld key, which was essentially Janus portals on a relic. You can create an entryway, then an exit within 150 units of it, that's half a Mercurial for reference. After 4 seconds, a portal opens that's one way but can be used by allies as much as they want for 15 seconds. So these two relics don't seem that insane to me. Otherworld Key has a cool design and could be great in specific situations like getting your team to an objective or backdooring, but ultimately I imagine these relics being scrapped because they weren't interesting enough, not because they were too OP, which is often the reason for a lot of these unimplemented items. Moving on though, we have Soul Reaver on steroids, aka Dementor's doll. So this is one that was available on PTS but never made it to the live client. Can you guess why? Yeah, it was broken as all hell. The item passive effect dealt 8% max health damage on ability hits with an internal cooldown of only 3 seconds. Soul Reaver currently does 9% if the absolute max value for the HP threshold is hit. When used against someone with 2000 HP or less, so all squishies pretty much, Soul Reaver only does 2% of their max health. Dementors just does 8% all the time, with a full kit rotation that's 32% of their health just deleted by an item passive. You can definitely see why this one was removed in PTS. Speaking of broken items removed in PTS because they were too strong, Mannequin Scepter is also on this list. And no, I don't mean the Season 8 Mannequin Scepter, I mean the Season 2 Mannequin Scepter. That's right, this item was planned to be added into the game as early as 7 years ago, but was never added because of balance issues. The main thing that set this item aside from modern mannequins was the stacking slow on its passive. This stacked up to a 24% slow at level 1 with just a starter item. And since it's a persistent effect on every single auto attack, you can keep them slowed as long as they're in range, and because you move 24% faster than they do, they never escape you, so essentially this item just killed people at level 1 on the right character. Not to mention Season 2 was when Release Bellona was happening and no one wanted to see Release Bellona with this item. She was bad enough with Tier 2 Heavy Hammer at release. But that's all I got for 8 unimplemented items that never made it into the live client in Smite. Let me know your thoughts on these items and whether you want them to come back in a redesigned form like Mannequin Scepter did, but other than that, I'll catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out you nerds.